Hey, this is Victor Antonio. This is day 4 of the Victor Report. Today I want to talk about two things. The first one I think is I want to talk about letting go. Let me just begin with this. Remember the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey? Stephen Covey, the way, I don't know how you say it. But it was written, years ago, 20 years ago. If you haven't read it, you should read it. The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Still valid today as it was back then. But in that book, the most impactful thing for me and my career was something called the circle of influence. And if you remember, he drew a big circle, right, and then a little circle in the middle, right? And it was like a donut, right? And what he said is basically on the outside of the circle, the outside are things you can't control in your life. These are things that there's nothing you can do about them. It could be the environment, trends in the market, the economy, politics, bureaucracy. You can't control this stuff. What he said is you need to focus on the inner circle, the small circle inside, and that is your circle of influence. Those are things that you can impact in your life. And your goal really is, on a daily basis, to try to expand that circle of influence as much as you can. But also understanding that anything beyond that, you simply can't control. So whether you believe in the invisible hand or the invisible hand of God or the market, you can't control these things. So let's not worry about them. Let's just worry about what we can control on a daily basis. And that's what I do. On a daily basis, I ask myself, how can I control my world? How can I grow my business, little by little? What can I do from a marketing standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from a whatever I need to do to grow my business? What can I do? The little things I can do on a daily basis that add up to one big thing that allows me to grow my circle of influence. Again, I realize that there's limits of things, a limit of things I can control and cannot control. And I bring this to your attention because sometimes we worry about things we can't control. That's the big one. But I was also talking to a friend of mine, and he said something interesting. He was caught in this dilemma. He was very unhappy with his corporate job. And the reason he was unhappy was he was trying to control the outcome. Let me just say that again. He was trying to control the outcome. He wanted to push through a project that was personal to him through a corporation, and he was trying to tell me, basically, have me explain to him how he can position his product better. And I said, well, the first thing you have to do is let go. And he's like, what do you mean let go, Victor? He said, well, let go of wanting to win. Let go of wanting to see it succeed. Now, don't confuse this with me saying, don't be passionate about it, don't go after it. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes we have a project, we attach our ego to that project, and we base everything on that. Win or lose based on that. If it goes well, great. If people reject it, we take it personally. What I am saying is that when you're working within a company and you're trying to get things through a bureaucracy, there's a lot of things you can't control. Circle of influence. There's a lot of things that are going to happen. Maybe people won't like the project. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe the company right now doesn't have the money for it. There's a lot of things that are beyond our control that we can't control. So I was trying to tell him, I said, you have to let go of the fact that maybe this won't go through. And he was trying to gain more control. I said, the problem is your ego is attached to this project because if they reject it, you will take it personally. And he kind of looked at me and says, yeah, you're right. And I said, all you can do is do your best, which means put as much passion, and power behind what you want to promote. Sell it the best way you can. But at the end of the day, these are the things you can do. But beyond that, you can't control what the corporation is going to do, what the committee is going to decide, what the budget people are going to decide, what the finance people are going to decide, what the operations people are going to decide. You get the idea. You can only do so much. So I told him basically, why don't you just look at your project, ask yourself, what can I control? What can I grow? What can I do? And then just focus on that. And that's the best you can do. Now, again, this gives you a peace of mind to some extent that you go, I did the best I could. I did everything I could to try to grow my circle of influence, and that was the limit. Was it enough? I hope so. But if it wasn't, we move on to the next thing. That's what we have to do. And this is when you're working for a company in this specific example. For me as an entrepreneur on a daily basis, I'm always asking myself, how do I grow that circle of influence? Now, this is important again because sometimes, again, we allow our ego to get attached to something, and when it doesn't go through, it gets rejected, we take it personally. You got to let go. There is no control in life. There is the illusion of control. There's so many things that can happen that can go right or wrong, that can make something go positive or negative. You just don't know. But the only thing you can control, I know I'm being redundant, is those specific things you can do on a daily basis. Okay, so keep that in mind. The other thing I want to talk about is I had an interesting conversation with a gentleman who wanted to bring me in to do a speech, right? By the way, shifting topics right now. But I think this is interesting. And again, it gets back to the control factor. So he says, we're bringing in some top speakers. We'd like to bring you in as well. And so I've learned that when I get a lot of promoters or event planners who say to me, hey, Victor, we want you to come in. We're bringing all these big names. We want you to be part of it. In the past, I used to go, yes, I want to be part of it. I want to be part of it. Now, I'm pretty upfront about certain things. I'm like, well, that's great that these other big speakers are going to be there. I would love to be part of it. And here are my conditions. And here are my financial conditions. Here's my agreement. And I put that in place right away. And what was interesting is that, the guy just mentally stopped. Like, why wouldn't you just want to do it for free just to be near these guys? I go, no, I don't do that anymore. That was my ego back in the day, wanting to be associated with other people. I don't need that anymore. And I realize that that's really, it's folly when you do that. Never make a decision because you think it's going to, put you in a better position just because you can associate yourself with somebody else. That'll work up to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, it's your hustle, your content, who you are, and the content you develop for the market that's really going to drive your business forward. Keep that in mind. So when people dangle that little, carrot in front of you, says you can be part of something that's even bigger than you. Keep in mind that if there isn't a obvious win-win, then don't do it. Now, let me clarify. Let me put a little asterisk on the bottom to make sure you're clear. Now, I'm clear. I'm not saying that if an opportunity came by where I had to present for free and I knew that there were going to be, 5,000 people there, oh, I'd do it. Don't get me wrong, I'd do it. But I do it not because I wanted to be associated with the other speakers. I do it because in that 5,000, I know there's probably somebody who's going to hire me. See, I see the quid pro quo, the benefit for me almost immediately. Get the idea? The first part, being associated, that's ego. Understanding the numbers that are in the room, 5,000, and the ability to get more business, that's economics. So I'll take economics over ego any day. Get the idea? And I remember the guy was trying to sell me on, no, but it's going to be a great event. We're going to have a lot of people there. And I asked him the key question, well, how many tickets have you sold? He said, well, we sold only 100 and something, but we're going to sell 500 to 1,000. Now, I've heard that promise too many times. So I'm always about the bird in the hand, which is just tell me how much you're going to pay me up front for me to be there. Now, that may sound hard and cold and calculating, but when you've been through what I've been through and the amount of people who've said, come do an event and, we're going to have 5,000 people there, and I get there and only 30 people show up, that means I blocked out a date that I could have booked somewhere else. I've now traveled there on my own dime, right? And now pretty much I wasted my time. I mean, maybe I'll get a couple of deals out of there, maybe, but that's just, it's a gamble. And so when you don't know, what I always try to do is reduce the variables, I always call it. So the variable in this case is don't know the gentleman real well. I don't know how well he markets. I don't know what he can really do. So if I don't know these things or what he can actually do, then I'm going to secure my position, which is, I'll tell you what, I'll do it, but here's my agreement. Here's how much I charge up front. And then he tried to sell me on but Victor, you really want a take of the door, where a percentage of people will come through the door, right? Because if we're expecting whatever, 1,000 people, whatever he said, and you multiply that by X amount, that's this amount of money, and you can get 1/3 of that or 1/4 of that, and that means that's money in your pocket. You'll make more money by getting what's at the door. I get that. I understand that. But again, if I'm talking to somebody who I know, who can deliver on the quantity of people and has done this before, I would say, that might be a good gamble. But when you don't know, and somebody's approaching you with all this, yes, we can do it, we can do it, this is going to be great. Because we've all heard that, right? People will start hyping things up, over-exaggerating what they can do, and then, they sell you on the idea, and you're like, okay, let's do it. And then I'm disappointed. That's not a good thing, and I've been there too many times. And it's rare that I find great event planners or seminar leaders who actually deliver on their promises. This is me just sharing. So what does this all have to do with back to control and the circles, right? I can't control what other people are doing. Like, I can't control how well this marketer will market the event. I can't control what speakers will be there. I can't control their marketing budget, how much hustle. What I can control is what I wanted to do to get to be part of this event. And I said, I can't control all this other stuff, but what I can control is how much I ask for upfront and what is the upfront agreement I want to put in place. And if they say no, they say no. And to be honest, the guy said, well, let me think about it. To which I said, fine. Because in my mind, there's always another deal. There's always something better to come along. I'm not so desperate that I need that. And that's another lesson to learn is that, sometimes we get so desperate that we just say yes to things we know we shouldn't say yes to. So don't do it. Remember, as much as you can control, expand that. The rest you can't control, let it go. This is Victor Antonio. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.